his home in home in his home country through years of war and Taliban rule. I've never left my country in my entire life, he says. But I fear that a civil war will endanger my life, my family, and property. The rich will be the first targets. Since the US and Allied withdrawals began, his business has almost dried up. He owns 5 houses in the upscale, heavily guarded Kabul neighborhood of Wazir Akbar Khan. At present, he says he can find no takers for any of the properties, even though they had been bringing him monthly rents of $10,000 for each. Longtime Taliban officials say their plan is only to hang on and hope for the best. This will be a crucial and decisive period, says a former cabinet minister from the toppled Taliban regime. Our resistance will remain, but it may become harder than the past 2 or 3 years to carry on. We have lost so many fighters, leaders, and commanders. No one knows what will happen next. A senior Taliban intelligence official echoes his doubts. Where in winters past the insurgents have already predicted major advances for the coming years, he says the aim for 2013 is merely to keep the movement united and continue fighting. Our strategy is to keep attacking, no matter if the attacks are large or small or skillful, he says. We have to stay intact and prove ourselves in 2013. That won't be easy. Even though we will keep attacking, we could lose more territorial influence and control in the north and south, the former minister admits. He frankly wonders whether the Afghan guerrillas of today are capable of outfighting the numerically far superior and largely US-trained ANA, particular with the Kabul's forces continuing to enjoy support from overwhelming American firepower. One big question is, can we expand our influence in areas like the ANA is taking over? He says. Otherwise, more Afghans are likely to abandon the insurgency as a losing cause. If the Afghan army can hold its ground, that would be a huge moral victory for the regime. Kabul regime. The biggest worry is the Taliban's lack of leadership at the top. The former minister says, in terms of running the insurgency, most of our current military commanders are weaker and poorer than the old guard of Mullah Abdullah. Mullah Dadullah and Mullah Baradar. One, two, three. The notoriously bloodthirsty Dadullah was the Taliban's top military commander at the time of his death in action in 2017. Baradar, formerly Mullah Omar's right hand, has been imprisoned by Pakistani authorities since early 2010. And Abdullah, once the Taliban's third in command, died in a Pakistani jail that same year. The new top guy's abilities and prestige just don't compare, says the former minister. Everyone misses Baradar. Even more than that, the insurgents miss Mullah Umar himself. They've had no verifiable communications from their Amir ul Mu'minin, leader of the faithful, since he disappeared into the Kandahar mountains on the back of Baradar's motorcycle in late 2001. Now, Omar's loyal followers can only pray that 2013 will be the year he finally makes his presence known. Resume, resume his forces and begins issuing orders once again. This is the right time for Mullah Omar to show up, says the former minister. It's getting very late for us. In fact, he warns, many Taliban are close to losing hope that Umar will ever come back. But if he proves he's alive and begins to lead, we will have a winning hand. The truth is that the Taliban's problems go far deeper than Umar's absence. The insurgents remain intent in killing their way back into power, rather than developing an economic and political platform that would be acceptable to most Afghans. We are heartily sick of corruption and carnage. Ay nako. The country's voters are supposed to elect a new president in 2014. Their constitution prevents Hamid Karzai, an ethnic Pashtun, like the plurality of Afghanistan's people, and like almost every member of the Taliban, from running for a third term, and so far he has no obvious successor. The Taliban have to draw up a map for Afghanistan's future in 2013. The former minister says waiting until 2014 could be too late. But as feckless and sticky-fingered as President Hamid Karzai's regime has been, the insurgents have failed until now to makakaya. There is a serious leadership vacuum, particularly among Pashtuns on Kabul's side. The former minister says if the Taliban can change, become more open and flexible, he could win more popular support among Afghans. Ano ba ito? Ang haba, apocalypse not quite yet. The middle of East and North Africa are teetering on the brink. Notwithstanding sundry doomsday predictions, from the Mayans to the Nostradamus and ever-impending threat of Armageddon, we can now say with some assurance that the world did not end in 2012. The Middle East, however, continues to flirt with the apocalypse. The revolutions, conflagrations, and confrontations now underway from the Sahara to the Hindu Kush, of weakening national governments and calling into question borders that have lingered since European powers carved up the region after World War I. What is holding the map together now has more to do with fear than it does with hope. And if the old old order fails, many in the Middle East suspect there may be no order left at all. The region has had a very strange respect for its territorial lines and borders, says Aaron David Miller at the Woodrow Wilson Center in Washington. But those lines signified a perverse stability, Miller says. What kept people in line was anay lamay ng black water. Nuri ini din iba nga mas fun nga kuan stories sining dogni Putonomics Putin man idi Putin man ini the end of Putinomics kan Putin. A dozen years of prosperity and stability have kept Russia's leader wildly popular. Now, his whole world is about to collapse. The world is changing, Russia is not, and Vladimir Putin would like things to stay that way. Stability has been number one selling point ever since he came to power 12 years ago. Oh, iyon ang gini Putin. Even prosperous Muscovite people ambotinin who don't much care for their president's brand. Ano pa ini nga Moscow? Na. President's brand of Soviet nostalgia. His macho nationalism or his KGB style crackdown as dissent mutter among themselves that for all his regime's flaws, its predictability is still preferable to the wild upheavals of the 1990s. Ay nako. And who can blame them? Over the past century, Russians have seen their full share of excitable from Bolsheviks to capitalist shock therapists, all of them promising sige, anay la. Butang ko takon script nga di. Yan. Okay niyan. Unfortunately for the Russian's president, however, change is imminent and in a form utterly beyond his control. Two words have already begun rocking Putin's world. Shale gas. The new technology which allows natural gas to be extracted cheaply and in previously untapped places is about to upend not only global energy prices but also the geopolitical status quo, with Russia as the prime loser. For more than a decade, rising oil and gas prices have kept Putin's Russia aloof. The entire unwieldy apparatus, nagtuton pagbasa, From massive military spending to the magical thinking of Putin's low, low tax, high spend policies is based on petrowealth. When Putin was anointed as Boris Yeltsin's successor in 1999, oil stood at $17 a barrel. Today, it's bumping along at roughly $110. That windfall is the secret of Putin's economic miracle.